Welcome back to a new video, and I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I just got back a couple hours ago from visiting family on Wednesday and Thursday. Decided not to stay Friday, or at least leave the morning Friday, just because it's easy with traffic, and it's nice to kind of have a couple days to enjoy the longer break and just be in a routine. I'm probably gonna train today. It's one of the things I've been thinking about is just how I want to structure training. Obviously not the same as before. I don't think I need to hammer back squats quite as much as I did. But this kind of like peak, or I guess end of this training cycle, if you want to call it that, went really well. So I'm really happy with how everything went for the most part. The only thing that could have been better is like hitting lifetime PRs in the snatch and clean jerk, which was always going to be pretty unlikely just because of the volume or lack thereof that I was doing in the classics. Obviously doing a lot of squats and back squats in particular, netted some pretty good results in that, a bunch of PRs, and randomly hit a deadlift PR as well. Not really randomly. If my back squat is good, then my deadlift is usually good as well. But this is the last couple days of training. I had a really bad day of training on Sunday, the day before, or I guess the day before the final week, the last session I did before the big Wednesday. And that's just because I was being an idiot and I shouldn't have tried to lift as heavy as I did. Thankfully, and I only did that on snatching, and then I went lighter on clean jerks. But this was Saturday, I believe. This is where I push pressed up to 125, which was pretty surprising because I haven't really done them. I think I push pressed 120 the other day, but I haven't really done a lot of push presses in this training cycle. So pleasantly surprised with that, but definitely something that I need to emphasize a lot more. So some things that I'm thinking about with the kind of next training block, or kind of how I want to structure my training next, is to do a lot more front squats. That's something I injured my back and I just stopped doing them in this training cycle. This isn't obviously like the results of my training were good, so I can't do everything and progress at everything. So some things had to give, and that was one of them. And same with the weightlifting volume, because of how much volume I was doing in the back squats. But so that's kind of like a somewhat a priority, front squat more frequently, get more volume in the front squat, but also just get more volume in the classics as well as variations of them. So whether it's snatch reps or snatch variations, I think the main snatch variation, at least currently, that I'm thinking about is no foot snatches / no foot power snatching. So when it's light, try to do no foot. Maybe like hold it in the isometric position. So basically you hold it in the position you catch in the power snatch and then squat all the way down. Something like that. And what I'm really trying to figure out now is what exercises I want on which days, and how to delineate whether I'm going to do singles or doubles or triples, and trying to think about the volume, because I'm still going to obviously train every day. So I'm not going to necessarily do 5 sets of 3 in the snatch every time I do it, because that would be doing a lot of reps and that'd be too much volume, and I probably would just get beat up from that. But I liked the training in this cycle where I was able to practice with hook grip a lot and get a lot of practice of singles. So I think that was a really positive thing. Obviously, I need to get more volume in general and not just singles to really progress. But honestly, like the fact that I was able to get up to 130, this was the really bad Sunday session. It was a little bit cold out in the shed, but I just wasn't as recovered from that Saturday session and was trying to be a knucklehead. But like getting up to the 130, if any of you saw the clips that I've already posted of the Wednesday session and the 160 clean jerk, and kind of, even though they weren't clean lifts necessarily, but getting up to those, which I haven't done 130 since the spring of this year before my competition, and it was probably uglier than the one I just did, but it really tells me that my shoulder is back to obviously that point of strength, and obviously want to get it increased from not just to that point, but want to exceed it. And the clean jerk, kind of have a similar thing, got up to that 160, and definitely think I have more in the clean, or probably at least 10 more kilos in the clean. Frankly, jerk is just really bad right now, and just need more volume, the push press, the over, just upper body stuff in general, which is something just didn't do a ton. Did some, but certainly could have done more. But it's also one of those things that, like, the focus was just, I'm going to back squat till my shoulder feels better, and shoulder feels really good right now. It's catching all these lifts pretty well, and it's it's just going well. I actually threw these muscle snatches in just because it's just colder, and there wasn't really like, oh, I need to prime myself or whatever. It was literally just like to physically warm up. and I enjoy muscle snatching. And I had been doing it for a little bit at the beginning of this training cycle where I would do it with contact, and I just really don't like to do them with contact. They just feel weird and clunky. When I do them with no contact, they just feel better. And what I'm realizing is that if I stay like at this 80, I think I got up to 90 the other time that I did them. But if I get to like 80, I can basically do it whenever I do snatching, and it's not going to fatigue me, and it's going to kind of prime me for snatching. I think that's one of the reasons why my snatches felt really good on this day. I'm also on the back platform. The front was being used. This one I can use, and I actually kind of like the angle that I get from the camera, and it's kind of in the back corner, so it's not really in the way of anyone. I just have to take all the weights back there, which is why I never train back here, because it's not convenient in that sense. I'm too lazy to carry all the weights. Normally there's next to the platform. So obviously there's that convenience of that. Plus the squat rack is available when I do have squats after my main lift. So it does have that extra convenience as well. But this platform's grippy enough, and it's good enough for training. There's that little lip in the front where you could step off. It's a slight step, so it's not good in that sense. But also I shouldn't be running lifts like that crazy out. As you see here, no misses up to 125, and then kind of just got nervous about the 125, a little hesitant, and then came back and made a really good 126. I was really happy with that. I didn't want to do 125 again, just threw the kilo along. So it's like if I can make 125, then the second one I can make 126. The clean jerks were pretty decent. I ended up missing 157 the first time, then made it okay on the second one. I'm kind of excited to use this kind of strength I've built up in my legs for more dedicated weightlifting specific training. I think I'm going to have really good training as the year turns over. I think this was the kind of cycle that I really needed, just to have a focus that isn't just snatch and clean and jerk. Obviously I was still doing them and still trying to progress them, but I wasn't trying to do a bunch of variety or a bunch of volume, just practicing the singles essentially. But I definitely feel ready to do more volume, or at least excited for it, and to focus on the jerk more, jerks from the rack, push press, overhead press, all that good stuff. And the thing now, really kind of this weekend before the Thanksgiving weekend ends, is kind of think of the exercise selection, the weeks, how I want those to look, and kind of the progression. The progression, I kind of have what I want it to look like. It's kind of based off the Seeker strength stuff, but a lot of what Owen had was 5 sets of 3 in the snatch, and he had the snatch and the snatch variation. And like, if I'm going to be doing weightlifting every day, I don't necessarily want to do 5 sets of 3. Like, I might drop that down to maybe 4 sets of 2, and because I'm going to do it more frequently, so the volume will still be similar to what you would do if you did snatch 3 times a week or whatever, 4 times a week, or probably honestly it's 3, but I'll probably do them most every day. At this point it'd be a little tricky because I have to drive to the gym most days now that it's going to be cold, but it's one of those things that you just got to do, and it just costs more gas, which it is what it is. But these were some squats I did after, and I got up to 220, and the 220 was the last lift I did for that Wednesday. Potentially, like, if this was like a truly like a competition thing, I wouldn't have tried to go this heavy on this day 2 days before. So there is that thought that there was more in the tank potentially on that Wednesday, but I didn't really think there was a ton of kilos left on the bar. Like, you'd say, well, potentially the 133 if you didn't go as heavy. I'm like, I don't know if that was really ever going to be there. Because, like, I haven't done 133 this entire year. I've done it 132 without straps once, and that was really difficult. And that was around the time that I did 135, which is my best ever with straps. So I definitely think I'm not necessarily far away from it. So, like, that's the part that's exciting, is, like, I just focus on squatting and not a lot of weightlifting specific training, and got a lot of good work in. When I came, so this is Clintonville, as you can see on the right side, halfway from my house, down Cincinnati up north, or to my hometown up north. And really nice gym. There was really not busy, which is nice. The music was pretty quiet, but it was really good music, which was nice. So I don't know if I listened to any of my own music until I got the clean jerks. I was originally like no music the whole time. I was like, this is like going hard in this session. You're gonna have to, there's no reason not to listen to music. There's not a very stimulative environment because there wasn't anyone there. I think there was one woman that was lifting, and then an older gentleman that came right at the end when I was doing that big deadlift. And so, like, I didn't have that like peer pressure of lifting. which is both good and bad. Obviously I got to use nice equipment. Ironically, the bar I was using is the weightlifting house bar, the same one that I use I bought for the house. So those were all the same, but it's nice to have the plates. The platform was real nice. It was really bouncy, which I enjoy that aesthetic. But this is where things went weird. So I missed the 115. I went up to 120, missed it. Went up to 120 again, or at least tried 120 again, missed it again. And this is where I was like, oh no, like this is this is not good. But I was like, screw it, we're here to max out. So I went up to 125, made it on the first attempt, and then went up to 130, and it's pressed out, a little wobbly, but made the 130, which since the summer where I hit the 125, it's 5 kilos up from there. And then tried 133. This one was out in front. This would have been a 1 kilo PR from Lifetime without straps. And then, the one was behind. The one behind wasn't actually that far away. I think I probably had like 131, maybe 132, but 133 was just too much. But I was already on cloud 9 after hitting that 130. And so clean jerks didn't feel fantastic for these, but wasn't feeling too bad. Jerks have kind of regressed the longer this training cycle has gone, which has been kind of annoying because like the weight doesn't feel bad, but I can tell my timing and technique is just not dialed in as much as it can be. But that was 125 and then 140. Didn't have any misses in clean jerk, unless you want to count the 160 press out miss, but close enough for training purposes. I had tentative thoughts, like if I hit that 133 and then did 160, it would have been a training total PR, my best training total, or it would have matched my best training total. So I would have tried 161 or something instead of 160, because 293 is the most I've done in training, where I did a 130 snatch and a 163 clean and jerk. For competition, it's the 288 that I did back in the spring, so pretty close in competition versus what I've done in training. But pretty cool to be able to get, even though it's ugly, to get really close to, a Lifetime training max. Just shows that, shoulder is all good, which is exciting. And then squats. I had moved to this platform because the rack that was in front of where I was lifting back in that back corner, right corner, you can kind of see still. The racks were limited to 500 pounds, which is a really cool flex to say I was too strong for those squat racks. So I didn't want to. I would have been, it would have only been one rep that would have been over 500, and I knew I was going to drop it after. So I was like, I'll probably be fine, but at the same time, it's good to be respectful, and there wasn't anyone there, so there wasn't a big deal to move to this rack. This platform was actually kind of weird. It kind of had a little bubble in it, which obviously when you have a bunch of weight like here with the PR, you don't really notice. But when I was setting up for deadlifts, I was like, it does feel kind of odd, like it's kind of bubbly a little bit. But started right at 225 because it's deadlifts. Went to 275 here. That plate in the middle looks weird because it's a different kind of plate. I think it's the Usaka plate. That's why it's a light colored one. The rest are Rogue or Vulcan. The one on the outside is the Usaka. And then it's just 306. It's hard to see that little 1 kilo plate, but I threw it on there. I was really surprised with how easy it was. It wasn't like, like, oh, I'm going to go up and do 315 or, super easy like that. But it certainly was easier than what I did 305 before. So definitely shows that, the back squats got me generally stronger as well. But I'm excited for this training cycle. I have different thoughts of how I want to structure things, but I kind of know, like, obviously want to do more volume and more push presses and overhead press and all that stuff. Now it's just kind of like how I want it to be structured with that. But really excited for the spring of training. Really, the end of winter, I suppose, and then the spring of training, and then doing that competition at the end of the year. I think I've really set myself up to make a lot of good progress in the end of the winter, or throughout the winter, and in the spring. And it's nice to hit Lifetime PRs. You can never bad training cycle when you can do that. And the reason I didn't try 240 in the back squat, and I did that 230-270, is because that 225 I kind of misgrooved it, which I really wanted to do 240 still, but I was like, 237 is a PR. I've only done the 236, or it's 520 pounds. I've only done it one time. That was like Super Saiyan. I had to go crazy to do. And so it's like, if I do that and it's not like the worst thing in the world, it gives me confidence in the next training cycle, or in the future, to do 240 or 240 plus, which I definitely think, looking at that 237, it's like I definitely could have done 240, but it's one of those things that's like, it's good to hit a PR and it's good not to overreach. And I think that was definitely the smart choice, instead of trying to go to 240 no matter what, as it definitely would have made me more anxious. And that little chip was nice. Even if I tied 235s and did that, I would have been happy. But yeah, really productive day. Really excited for more days of training and just to adjust things for how I do. But anywho, that's enough blank space at the end. If you made it to this point or any point in this video, I appreciate it. I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Peace.